The marker made a loud noise and then went silent. Inside the big glass boardroom at Skytech headquarters in Nairobi, the whiteboard was covered with a mess of wrong answers. Line crosses each other like fighting snakes, arrows pointing everywhere. Numbers didn't agree with each other. It looked like confusion on the wall. At the front of the room stood Daniel Johnson, the CEO of Skytech. He was a billionaire, but right now, he did not look powerful. His hands gripped the edge of the table. His eyes was red and tired. His voice shook when he spoke. "We have 48 hours, Daniel said slowly. "If we fail again, we lose the contract. We lose everything." The room was silent. You could hear the hum of the air condition. The faces of the engineers were blank. No one spoke. No one knows the answer. Fear sat heavy in the room, like smoke you could not breathe out. Daniel looked at the whiteboard again. A picture of a plane was there, but the design was wrong. Something was killing the project, and nobody could find it. Skytech had spent millions, and still the plane was unsafe. One more failure, and the company was finished. Then a voice came from the doorway. It was soft but strong. "I can fix it." Head turned sharply. Everyone stared. There at the door stood a man who looked like he didn't belong. His coat was old and torn. His shoes were covered in dust. His beard was rough. His hair messy. He held a small brown bag close to his chest like a treasure. The security guard moved towards him, but Daniel lifted his hand. "Wait." The stranger's eyes stayed calm. He looked at the whiteboard like it was an old friend that had lost its way. "I can fix it," he said again. The whole room held its breath. Hours before that moment, before the city was fully awake, Micheal Omondi opened his eyes under the shadow of a bridge. The air was cool, and faint sunlight slipped between the tall pillars above him. The city was slowly walking. You could hear noise from a distance. A hawker's voice echoed through the empty space. "Water, cold water, buy your water." Micheal sat up on a piece of cardboard sheet. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the grey concrete around him. His old coat was full of dust. He shook it off and hugged a small brown bag tightly. That bag was his life. Inside were three things: a worn-out book about airplane designs, a bundle of certificates from many years ago, and a blue pen with half ink left in it. He pulled out the book and pressed it to his chest. It was the only thing that made him feel like himself. Micheal walked to the public tap nearby. The water splashed on his face. He looked into the ripple, saw his reflection and tried to smile. The smile quickly faded. He joined the early crowd walking towards Westland, where the tall buildings touched the clouds. People wore clean suits and shiny shoes. He kept his head down. One building always stopped him, the one with silver letters that said Skytech. Every day he walked past it slowly, like a hungry man passing a bakery window. But today felt different. People with badges rushed inside. Camera flashed in the lobby. The building looked like it was alive with tension. Micheal stopped and stared. Something inside him whispered, "Go in." He hugged his bag and walked towards the big glass door. Micheal pushed the heavy glass door open. No one stopped him. Everyone was busy, too worried. People moved fast, speaking in low, serious voices. Some held tablets, others clutched laptops. They didn't even notice a man in a torn coat walking among them. The lobby was bright, shining with white tiles. The wall was full of Skytech awards. Big screens showed planes flying over blue skies. But behind the beauty, Micheal could feel something, fear. He walked past the security. They were distracted, talking into radios. His steps were slow but sure. He did not look left or right. Micheal reached the elevators. A group of engineers rushed in, talking about sensor drift and system errors. He slipped in with them. No one asked who he was. Everyone was drowning in problems. The elevator climbed high. Micheal's heart pounded. He knew he was taking a big risk. If they threw him out, he would be back under the bridge tonight. But something inside him burned like fire. He had to try. The elevator door opened at the top floor. Micheal stepped out and saw it. The big boardroom with glass walls. Inside, men and women in suits sat around a long table. The whiteboard was full of chaos, lines, arrows, and wrong numbers. At the center stood Daniel Johnson, the CEO. His voice was firm but tired. "We have 48 hours," Daniel said. "If we fail, Skytech fails." Those words hit Micheal like a knife. He knew that kind of pressure. He had seen great teams fall apart because of small mistakes. Micheal hugged his brown bag tighter. His book pressed against his rib like a heartbeat. He took a deep breath and walked to the door of the boardroom. Micheal stood at the doorway. The air inside the room was thick with stress. Every face turned to look at him. He did not look away. He only said, "I can fix it." His voice was low but clear. The engineers looked shocked. Two security guards began moving towards him quickly, but Daniel Johnson raised his hands and said, "Wait." The guards stopped. Daniel stared at Micheal for a long second. "What do you say?" Micheal asked. "I can fix it. Let me try." The room exploded with whispers. "Who is this man? This is crazy. This is a waste of time." Micheal stepped out slowly. His shoe made soft sound on a shiny floor. He smelled of dust, old books, and sun. His coat had holes. He looked nothing like an engineer from Skytech, but his eyes had something strong in them. Something that made Daniel curious. Daniel picked up a marker from the table and slid it towards Micheal. "If you waste my time," Daniel said softly, "you waste my company. Do not waste it." The room went quiet. You could hear a pen drop. Micheal walked to the whiteboard. He held the marker in his hand. For 3 seconds, he did nothing. Just stood there, staring at the angry lines on the board. Then, slowly, he began to move. Micheal erased 2 arrows that fought each other across the winged design. The sound of the eraser was loud in the silent room. Then, he drew a clean line, smooth and calm. He circled a small box labeled AOA and wrote in big letters, "Sensor drift under vibration." People leaned forward in their chairs. Pens stopped tapping. Even the air conditioner hum seemed quieter. Micheal spoke as he wrote. "When the plane feels many small shakes," he said, tapping the AOA box, "this little sensor thinks the noise is too high. It panics. The autopilot pushes the noise down too fast. The pilot fights back. It becomes a war. A few seconds of wrong number can turn into a crash." Daniel moved closer, his eyes wide. The engineers exchanged looks. Some still doubted. Others started nodding slowly. Micheal drew a small filter symbol like a net. "We slow the panic," he said. "We filter the noise. We teach the sensor to listen better." Then he drew 2 more boxes and connected them to AOA. "These are helpers. air speeds and vertical speeds. The system must check all three before acting. If one is shouting alone, it must wait. He wrote these three steps. First, filter the noise. Second, cross-check helpers. Thirdly, soft hands on the nose. Soft hand, Micheal repeated. His voice was calm, not panic. Plane needs calm. The room was silent, but it was a different silence, the kind that comes when a locked door begins to open. One of the senior engineers stood up. Her name was Grace, and her eyes were sharp. "We tried a filter last week," she said. "It helped during light turbulence, but strong shake still caused trouble." Micheal nodded. He drew one more box on the board and wrote, "Human override with time gates." "Give the pilot the stronger voice early," Micheal explained. "Not after a fight. If the system sees calm for the pilot twice, it learns. The machine must not be proud." That last sentence made some people smile, even in that tense room. Another engineer leaned forward. "What if all these three sensors lie together?" "They won't," Micheal simply said. "Not often. But if they try, we add a heartbeat that checks every 0.3 seconds. If the heartbeat looks wrong, the system warns the pilot first. It asks for hand, soft hand." The room stayed silent, but now heads were nodding. Hope was creeping in like sunlight from the storm. Daniel Johnson took a deep breath. Then he said, "Build a quick sim. Use a step. We will run it now." The room came alive. Laptops opened. Fingers flew across keyboards. The big screen lit up with a stimulation. Micheal stepped back from the board. His heart pounded, but his face stayed calm. On the screen, a digital plane sat on the runway. The engineers rolled. The stimulation began. The first flight ran smooth. Then the engineers added turbulence. The plane shook hard. The sensors screamed. But this time, the system did not panic. The new filter worked. The helpers spoke to each other. The override button glowed early. The pilot in the sim took control gently with soft hands. The digital plane leveled out. No dive, no crash. The room erupted. People clapped. Even some laughed. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Daniel Johnson turned to Micheal. His voice was thick. "You saved Skytech," he said. "Who are you?" Micheal looked at him and smiled softly. "My name is Micheal Omondi," he said. "I used to be an engineer before life happened." Daniel stared at him for a long time. Then he stretched out his hand. "Come back," Daniel said, not as a visitor, as part of the team. Micheal felt his eyes burn. He shook Daniel's hand firmly. Hours later, Micheal stood outside the glass tower. The sun was setting over Nairobi, painting the sky orange and gold. For the first time in years, he felt tall. He looked at his old books in his hand. It had carried him through the darkest night. He whispered, "We did it." Behind him, the big building glowed with light. Inside, Skytech engineers were still running tests, improving the design, making the future safe. And it all started with one man who refused to give up. Micheal walked away slowly, not as a man under the bridge, but as a man with a second chance. Far above, a plane crossed the sky. Micheal looked up and smiled. "The sky," he whispered, "is home again." 2 years passed after that day in the Skytech boardroom. The company had changed completely. Their new plane became the safest in Africa. Skytech won big contracts with airlines all over the world. The company made billions, but inside the success was a quiet story, Micheal's story. Daniel Johnson had kept his promise. He gave Micheal a job that day, not just any job, He made him head of the engineering team. People doubted at first. Some whispered, that street man will fail. But Micheal never failed. He worked day and night. He was the first to arrive and the last to leave. He treated everyone with respect, from the janitor to the senior manager. He did not care about fame. He only cared about solving problems and making planes safe. Whenever a young engineer got stuck, Micheal sat with them patiently. He never shouted. He explained with calm words, the same way he had spoken that day on the whiteboard. Soon, everyone loved him. The media began to notice him. Newspaper wrote stories about the homeless engineer who saved the Skytech. TV station called him the Miracle Mind. Daniel Johnson watched all this silently. He saw how Micheal was not only smart, but also humble and honest. He saw something even greater, leadership. One evening, Daniel called Micheal to his office. The city light glowed through the glass walls. Micheal, Daniel said softly, I am stepping down as the CEO next year, and I want you to take my place. Micheal froze. He thought he had misheard. Me? CEO? Yes, Daniel said with a smile. Skytech needs a leader who knows the struggle, who knows that greatness is born from failure. That leader is you. Tears filled Micheal's eyes. He could not speak. The day finally came. The Skytech headquarters was full of reporters, cameras, and flashing lights. A big banner hung in the hall. Welcome the new CEO, Micheal Omondi. Micheal stood on the stage wearing a black suit. It was not expensive, but it was neat and simple. Just like him. The applause was loud. The sound filled his ears, but in his heart he had something else. The quiet hum of dream coming true. Daniel Johnson walked up and shook Micheal's hand firmly. He whispered, the sky is yours now. Lead it well. Micheal turned to the crowd. His voice was strong but humble. 2 years ago, he said, I stood outside this building with nothing but a dream. I slept under the bridge, but I carried hope in my heart. Today, I stand here because I never give up, and because someone believed in me. The hall went silent, everyone listening like children listening to a story. Skytech, Micheal continued, will not just build planes. We will build trust. We will build a future where no mistake will cost a life, and we will do it together. The crowd exploded in cheers. Camera flashed. Micheal smiled, but his mind went back to that morning under the bridge. The cold water on his face, the whispers of hope that told him to walk inside. After the event, Micheal stood by the window of his office, the CEO office. From there, he could see the city and the far horizon. He placed his hand on the glass and whispered softly, I made it, Mama. I made it. Far above, a plane crossed the golden sky, and this time, it was one of his planes. Micheal smiled. The boy under the bridge had become the man who ruled the sky. Let me know your thoughts concerning these stories. If you love my stories, please comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. See you in my next one. Until then, remain blessed.